I'm here in the state of Texas on death row.
It's not dying, it's why I have to die.
Because if I had done this, I would have taken my punishment. But I know in my heart I didn't do it. But I don't have the resources. I didn't have anybody to help me.
Linda wept through the prison glass, tears streaming as she spoke about the woman she once was. She had sung in church choirs, taught village children, would never hurt a soul. But that wasn't the Linda who told her neighbor she'd have a baby to show her the next day. No visible pregnancy, no physical signs of impending birth, just an empty infant car seat position in her back seat and a promise that carried deadly certainty. 24 hours later, 4-day-old Ray Rodriguez was crying in unfamiliar arms while his 20-year-old mother lay suffocated in a car trunk. Anita Carty had orchestrated the perfect crime, except for one detail she couldn't control. Room 36 of the Emerald and became her command center, the place where 3 hired men received their final instructions, where stethoscopes and scissors purchased weeks earlier waited alongside baby bassinets and newborn clothes for a child that would never legally be hers. What drove a former schoolteacher to kidnap a newborn and murder his mother? How did a woman with British citizenship end up on Texas death row? And why did investigators believe she was willing to kill for a lie she'd been living for months? St. Kitts, 1958, a small island nation in the Caribbean. Sugar plantations stretched toward azure waters. Colonial architecture lined cobblestone streets. Linda Anita Carty entered the world here. British citizenship by birthright. Her parents came from Anguilla, another tiny island territory where life moved the rhythm of trade winds and fishing boats. The family lived modestly but comfortably in a community where everyone knew everyone else's business. Church bells rang every Sunday morning. Linda sang in the choir. Her voice carried across the small sanctuary, clear and strong. The congregation nodded their approval. Here was a child destined for something greater than island life. School records paint a picture of exceptional promise. Mathematics came easily. English literature captured her imagination. Teachers noted her curiosity, her willingness to stay after class, and ask questions that went beyond the assigned lessons. But darkness invaded paradise early. Court documents would later reveal a childhood assault that shattered her innocence. The attack went unreported. No charges were filed. No justice was sought. In small communities, some secrets remained buried beneath layers of shame and silence. The violation scarred more than her body. At 17, she stood before the village school as its newest teacher. Students half her age looked up at her with respect and admiration. Parents trusted her with their children's education. She had achieved something remarkable in a place where opportunities were limited. Yet the island couldn't contain her ambitions. 1982 brought new possibilities. Houston, Texas beckoned with university brochures and immigration paperwork. The University of Houston had accepted her into their pharmacology program. America represented freedom from painful memories and small-town limitations. The transition wasn't seamless. American culture differed vastly from Caribbean traditions. Concrete replaced coral beaches. Traffic noise drowned out morning bird song. Air conditioning battled humidity instead of ocean breezes providing natural relief. But Linda adapted with characteristic determination. Her accent softened over time. American idioms crept into her vocabulary. She learned to navigate urban complexities that would have overwhelmed many immigrants. The pharmacology program challenged her intellect while opening doors to professional possibilities. Graduation led to employment in Houston schools. Primary education became her specialty once again. American children learned from her expertise just as Caribbean students had years earlier. Colleagues described her as dedicated, patient, compassionate. Citizenship ceremonies made her transformation official. 2 decades passed in quiet productivity. Then came 2002. Capital murder charges, international headlines, diplomatic protests from the United Kingdom. When Linda faced possible execution, her family crossed oceans to testify on her behalf. Her mother took the witness stand first. Age had been her frame, but her voice carried the strength of absolute conviction. "My daughter never hurt anyone," she declared. "Sweet child, kind heart, always helping others." Javel, Linda's daughter, completed the family portrait. 22 years old, college educated, accomplished in her own right. She spoke of a mother who worked multiple jobs to fund her education. Late nights spent helping with homework. Birthdays celebrated despite financial constraints. "This woman they described is my mother," Javel insisted. "She gave everything so I could succeed." The Linda they knew couldn't have planned an abduction that resulted in a young mother's death. But testimonials compete with evidence. Character witnesses face cross-examination, and juries must weigh emotional appeals against forensic facts. Apartment complex, Houston suburbia. Tuesday afternoon, May 15, 2001. Parking lots serve as informal community centers. Linda Carty approached her neighbor near the mailboxes. She gestured toward her vehicle's rear seat. An infant car seat sat positioned there, brand new, still bearing price tags. Her smile carried anticipation as she shared her news. "Tomorrow," she promised, "tomorrow I'll have my baby to show you." The neighbor studied Linda's appearance carefully. No visible pregnancy bulge. No physical signs suggesting imminent birth. No medical equipment or hospital preparations that would typically accompany such an announcement. Apartment 18 housed the Rodriguez family. 20-year-old Joana had given birth just 4 days earlier. Her son Ray represented hope and possibility, a future stretching ahead despite their modest circumstances. The apartment itself told the story of young love and financial struggle. Secondhand furniture arranged with care. Baby items purchased with careful budgeting. Photographs displaying proud parents holding their newborn son. Joanna's husband worked construction to support his expanding family. Dawn departures. Sunset returns. Callous hands earning money to provide for wife and child. Wednesday morning shattered their domestic tranquility. 3 men forced entry while Joana was alone with her infant. They bound her with tape. Plastic covered her airways. Terror replaced the gentle sounds of new motherhood. The abduction proceeded with terrible efficiency. Mother and child were removed from their home and loaded into a waiting vehicle. Neighbors heard nothing suspicious. The operation concluded within minutes. Joana died during transport. Asphyxiation claimed her life, while her 4-day-old son survived unharmed in his carrier. The young woman who should have watched her child grow instead became a victim of someone else's desperation. Discovery came hours later when her husband returned home. Silence greeted him instead of his wife's voice calling from the kitchen. Empty rooms replaced the sounds of infant care. Fear consumed the space where happiness had flourished. Police sirens filled the air. The funeral drew hundreds of mourners. Joanna's husband wept openly as the casket was lowered into Texas soil. A life that had barely begun was ending while her child faced an uncertain future. But investigations had already uncovered disturbing evidence. Linda Carty's credit card records revealed extensive purchases of infant supplies in the weeks preceding the abduction. Her apartment contained a fully prepared nursery, crib assembled and positioned near a window, diapers stocked in cabinets, toys arranged on shelves. Everything needed to care for an infant except the infant itself. She had informed friends and family of her pregnancy throughout the preceding months. Conversations included due dates and gender predictions. The elaborate preparations were based entirely on fantasy rather than biological reality. Yet the preparations continued with increasing intensity. The lies became more specific. The timeline grew more definite, until fantasy demanded real fulfillment. The woman who had promised her neighbor a baby to display had found one in the most unthinkable way possible. Room 36, Emerald Inn, Houston's industrial district. Motels preserve records that criminals often overlook. Registration cards capture signatures in permanent ink. Credit card transactions leave digital trails. Security cameras document movements through lobbies and parking areas. Linda Carty's name appeared on hotel paperwork dated May 15, 2001. Check-in occurred at 7:47 p.m. Room assignment, 36. Expected departure, May 17th. But Linda didn't occupy the room alone. Security footage captured 3 young men entering the motel lobby on May 15th. Gerald Anderson, 19. Chris Robinson, 22. Carlos Williams, 21. Each carried criminal histories spanning drug offenses and property crimes. The men proceeded directly to room 36 without stopping at the registration desk. They possessed keys or had arranged alternate entry methods. Morning brought the operation's climax. Joana Rodriguez was transported from her apartment to the motel in Linda's vehicle. The trunk compartment became her prison during the journey. Forensic analysis would later confirm her presence through fiber evidence and DNA samples. The car itself served multiple purposes in the conspiracy: transportation for the abduction team, confinement for the victim, storage for the evidence that would eventually lead to arrests. But vehicles accumulate more evidence than criminals typically anticipate. Tire impressions at the apartment complex matched Linda's car. Paint transfers on a fence post confirmed contact during the hasty departure. Fingerprints on the trunk, interior, linked the vehicle to the crime scene. Motel management discovered the abandoned room around 1:30 p.m. on May 16th. Housekeeping staff reported unusual conditions: bedsheets disturbed but not slept in, bathroom towels used but left on the floor, television still broadcasting but no guest present. Police processing revealed additional clues. Telephone records showed calls placed from room 36 to Linda's residence. The timing coincided with the abduction's execution. Contents included coordination details and status updates. Room service receipts documented food ordered for 4 people on May 15th. The quantity suggested extended occupancy by multiple individuals. Payment was made in cash, avoiding credit card trails. But the most damning evidence came from witness observations. The infant was discovered at a residence connected to Anita Carty approximately 18 hours after the abduction. Neighbors had heard persistent crying throughout the night, but assumed it represented normal infant care. The evidence trail led inexorably toward Anita Carty, her vehicle, her hotel registration, her co-conspirators, her nursery preparations. But the most damning evidence was yet to emerge. The neighbor's memory proved decisive. Tuesday's parking lot conversation had seemed unremarkable at the time. Expectant mothers often share excitement about upcoming births. The promise to display a newborn the following day carried no obvious sinister implications. Wednesday's news changed everything. Radio broadcasts reported an abduction and murder involving a 4-day-old infant. Television coverage showed police photographs of the crime scene. Newspaper headlines described the ongoing search for the missing child. The timing was impossible to ignore. Linda had promised a baby on Wednesday. An infant had been kidnapped Wednesday morning. The coincidence was too precise to dismiss as unrelated events. The neighbor contacted Houston Police Department immediately. Detective interviews revealed crucial details that investigators had not previously considered. No visible pregnancy had been observed despite Linda's claims. No physical preparation for childbirth had been evident. Police moved with swift efficiency. Anita Carty was arrested within 6 hours of the infant's discovery. Her connection to the vehicle used in the abduction was undeniable. Hotel records confirmed her presence at the conspiracy's headquarters. The recovered child was found at an address linked to her social network. But she wasn't the only suspect taken into custody. Gerald Anderson faced arrest at his apartment on Houston's north side. Police found him attempting to dispose of clothing worn during the abduction. Blood evidence on his shoes matched samples collected at the Rodriguez apartment. Chris Robinson was apprehended at a bus station attempting to leave Houston. His travel plans had materialized suddenly after the murder. Cash in his possession exceeded his legitimate income sources. Carlos Williams surrendered voluntarily after learning of his co-conspirators' arrests. His attorney advised cooperation in exchange for potential sentence reductions. Each provided detailed statements implicating Anita Carty as the operations architect. Anderson described recruitment conversations spanning several weeks. Linda had approached him through mutual acquaintances, explaining her need for assistance with a business opportunity. Payment promises included both cash and future considerations. Robinson confirmed the planning timeline. Multiple meetings at various locations throughout April and early May. Discussions of target selection, entry methods, and evidence disposal. Williams detailed the execution phase. early morning positioning near the Rodriguez apartment, coordinated entry through multiple access points, specific instructions about victim handling and infant care. All three identified Linda as the source of their operational knowledge. She had provided the apartment address. She had determined the timing. She had established the communication protocols. But Linda's version contradicted their accounts entirely. She claimed complete ignorance of any kidnapping conspiracy. Her presence at the hotel was coincidental. Her vehicle's use was unauthorized. The men were fabricating their testimony to reduce their own criminal exposure. Her alternative explanation involved drug-related retaliation. She had previously worked as an informant for federal narcotics investigations. These arrests represented revenge by dealers seeking to silence her cooperation with law enforcement. DEA records confirmed her informant status. Agent testimony verified her assistance with several drug prosecutions. Her cooperation had indeed generated threats from convicted dealers. But informant work didn't eliminate murder charges. Physical evidence supported the co-conspirators' versions rather than Linda's denials. Hotel receipts documented planning meetings. Vehicle forensics proved transportation involvement. Shopping records demonstrated premeditation. The investigation consumed months of detailed analysis. Detective interviews filled thousands of pages. Evidence collection required extensive laboratory processing. Yet the conclusion remained inescapable. Linda Carty had orchestrated Joana Rodriguez's murder to obtain her infant son. February 2002, Harris County Courthouse. Judge Mike McSpadden presiding. The courtroom atmosphere carried unusual tension as international media attracted global attention to Linda Carty's case. British diplomatic representatives occupied gallery seats while human rights organizations monitored proceedings. The trial's most emotional moment came when Rodriguez's husband testified, his voice breaking. "She took everything from us. My wife will never see our son grow up." February 19th brought the verdict. Guilty of capital murder. After penalty phase proceedings, the jury returned their decision. Death by lethal injection. Linda showed no visible reaction. Her family wept silently while Rodriguez's relatives nodded with quiet satisfaction. Mountain View Unit. Gatesville, Texas. Population: 7 women awaiting execution. Linda Anita Carty joined this exclusive demographic in March 2002. Her cell measures 8 feet by 10 feet. Concrete walls painted institutional white. Steel door with meal slot and observation window. Fluorescent lighting that never completely dims. Death row routines govern every aspect of existence. Wake-up calls at 5 a.m. Breakfast through meal slots. Recreation time often spent in the law library where legal research consumes her mornings. Appeals require constant attention and documentation. 21 years are passed since her conviction. Each year brings new appeals and renewed hope. Each denial moves her closer to the execution chamber 200 miles away. But Linda demonstrates remarkable resilience regarding her fate. Prison interviews reveal someone who has accepted the possibility of execution without surrendering hope for legal vindication. "I may die for something I didn't do," she acknowledges, "but I won't die without fighting for truth." Guards describe her as a model prisoner. No disciplinary infractions. Respectful interactions with staff. She earned a GED during her first year, followed by college correspondence courses in literature and theology. Educational programs occupy her evenings. She earned a GED during her first year of imprisonment. College correspondence courses followed. Literature and theology became her areas of focus. Religious services provide spiritual sustenance. Chapel attendance when schedules permit. Bible study groups that meet weekly. Prayer sessions that offer hope beyond legal appeals. Isolation defines a death row experience more than any other factor. Limited physical contact with visitors. Conversations through reinforced glass barriers. Human connection reduced to scheduled phone calls and written correspondence. Linda's British citizenship continues generating international attention. The United Kingdom maintains official opposition to her execution. Diplomatic communications seek commutation of her sentence to life imprisonment. Legal scholars analyze her case in academic papers. Human rights organizations cite her situation in broader arguments against capital punishment. Media coverage spans multiple continents whenever significant developments occur. She maintains detailed journals documenting her experience and appears optimistic during media interviews. God knows the truth, she insists. Justice will eventually prevail, whether in this life or the next. Her case represents the intersection of international law, domestic criminal justice, and individual human tragedy.